I didn't say a word when they handed me that eviction notice, just slid the old, yellowed 1923 water rights deed across the table and watched their faces as 35 McMansions became instant lakefront property overnight. The Willowbrook Estates HOA thought they could muscle out my family's land while I was deployed in Afghanistan. Figured nobody would fight back against a bunch of suburban bureaucrats in tennis outfits and golf carts. Not when they built their so-called paradise on what used to be my grandfather's farm. What they didn't know was I'm not just anybody. I'm Jake Morrison, Army Corps of Engineers, third-generation Texan on 47 acres just outside Austin. And the Little Earth Dam Pops built in '78 had been waiting 45 years for someone greedy or dumb enough to build right downstream. When I opened those spillway gates and their luxury cul-de-sac got its first taste of real Texas flooding, let's just say the phrase, "water finds a way," took on a whole new meaning. You ever see a whole HOA panic at the word federal jurisdiction? That's what happens when you mix arrogance with ignorance. My pops, everyone called him that, bought our patch of land back in 1955 when barbecue shacks still outnumbered tech startups by 1,000 to 1, and folks kept their word like they kept their fences. Pops believed in looking after the land, built that dam to keep the cows watered and help out neighbors during dry spells. The Army Corps even pitched in on the design. So, yeah, that little embankment wasn't just mud and rock, it was a federal project. What that means, no HOA, city councilman, or Karen-in-chief could touch it without getting the feds involved, no matter how many tennis tournaments they hosted. I was overseas, 2 tours in Afghanistan, learning about water scarcity the hard way. Seeing people fight over every drop. When Pops passed away and my sister Sarah, good heart but California soft, let the land slip into a property management trust. Big mistake. See, while she kept up with the taxes, she never looked at the fine print. Enter Maggie Thornwell, president of the HOA, city councilman's wife, drives a white BMW, wears perfume strong enough to stun cattle, and wields Southern charm like a sharpened butter knife. She saw opportunity, land with no one around, perfect for expansion. They filed an adverse possession claim, claiming we'd abandoned the back 40, bulldozed stakes right through Pop's pasture, started pouring concrete. I came home expecting to see the old oak tree in the rolling hills, found survey crews and McMansions springing up like mushrooms after rain. I called the cops. They told me to talk to Maggie. Maggie showed up in her golf cart, flashing that smile, told me, "Honey, your family's legacy is in good hands now." I was furious, but the anger really hit when I realized her construction crews had rerouted the creek feeding my dam, watching the water level drop day by day. 45 years of neighborly stewardship disappearing because someone wanted a better view from their granite kitchen island. Should have stayed closer to home. Soldier boy, she called out as she left. That's when I knew I wasn't just fighting for land or a pond. I was at war for a whole way of life. I hired a lawyer, but he wanted $85,000 just to file paperwork, money Maggie and her city councilman husband Rick had plenty of. Thanks to quick, dirty zoning changes that made my farmland residential development. But see, Afghanistan taught me you don't always win with lawyers. You win with intelligence, patience, and knowing where to dig. I hit the courthouse records, found Pop's original dam permits. Turns out, building with Army Corps oversight brings in federal protection. The HOA couldn't override it, no matter how many petitions they circulated. Then I stumbled onto a 1923 water rights deed, older than the town itself, giving my family priority over every drop of Willow Creek. Maggie wasn't just stealing land, she was stealing water, and, in Texas, that's fighting words. She staged news conferences about dam safety, played the concerned mom card for every local TV camera in town. All while her crews worked double shifts to finish construction before I could stop them. Meanwhile, she launched a harassment campaign, noise complaints, code violations, even a wellness check to paint me as a dangerous veteran. Her city councilman husband sicked every inspector in the county on me, and my mailbox filled with threats and fines. But I learned to fight with paperwork too, set up trail cams, tracked water flow, started calling in old Army buddies. Tony at the EPA confirmed they'd violated the Clean Water Act by diverting a natural waterway without federal permits. Fines started at $50,000 a day. Digging deeper, I found Maggie had pulled the same creek diversion scam at her last HOA in Houston, left town right before a $2.3 million EPA fine landed. She spun up a smear campaign on local social media, called me unstable, tried to buy off my sister Sarah in California with sob stories about her troubled veteran brother. But Sarah called me laughing. She might not know Texas law, but she knows a con when she hears one. Now, here's where the real engineering kicked in. I worked with Amanda, a pro bono environmental attorney, and Miguel Santos, whose family farm had survived on creek water since 1887. We formed a coalition of neighbors, environmental groups, even the Audubon Society after the creek diversion killed off protected bird species and a whole run of Guadalupe Bays. While Maggie was planning a photo op with concerned mothers and hashtags about protecting children, I was mapping the real floodplain with my drone, calculating exactly how much water it would take to put the creek back in its original bed. 2.8 million gallons, right after the season's heaviest rains. When Maggie pushed eminent domain, offered pennies on the dollar for land worth 10 times as much, and staged a media circus to make me look like a terrorist, the timing was perfect. Amanda's research proved the HOA's insurance was fraudulent. Without my water rights, their development loans would collapse. The EPA moved up their investigation, state regulators froze the HOA's insurance, and just as Maggie tried to block my dam with concrete trucks, federal agents swooped in and started making arrests. I opened the spillway at dawn, federal agents, media, and half the town watching, restoring Willow Creek to its original path. No houses flooded, just water flowing exactly where it belonged. Reporters interviewed farmers whose stock ponds filled for the first time in years. Mrs. Chin's garden blossomed again, and the local diner passed out free collages to celebrate. Even some of Maggie's supporters started drifting away, realizing they'd been sold a lie. Court was the final battleground. Maggie brought a fleet of lawyers, expert witnesses, even a psychiatrist to label me dangerous. Amanda brought the dam covenant, EPA records, historic photos, and the full weight of the community. Rick broke under oath, admitting to the zoning scam. The judge ruled in our favor. The HOA was dissolved. Fines and criminal investigations rained down on Maggie and Rick, and the Willow Creek Restoration Trust was born. 6 months later, justice flowed like water. Miguel got his farm back. Mrs. Chin's garden is a model for sustainability. The creek is now a protected wildlife corridor, and our community is stronger than ever. My pop's farmhouse is restored. Sarah's back home. Amanda and I are still fighting for water rights all over Texas. What started as one veteran's fight became a blueprint for environmental justice. Now, every Sunday, I fill a mason jar from the creek and bring it to Pop's grave. The legacy lives on. So, what do you do when someone tries to steal your land, your water, your history? You fight smart, you fight together, and you let the truth flow where it belongs. Drop your HOA nightmare in the comments. Let's keep building this community of fighters, because water, justice, and neighborly love always find a way home. Hit subscribe if you want more real stories of people standing up to power and winning. Next week, I'll tell you how my neighbor cut the lights to City Hall with a solar farm at the mayor's wedding. But that's another Texas tale for another day.